Hey guys, I'm not one to mince words. Words matter, especially when it comes to the Bible. So I'm not going to say I was revelated to, because there's a specific process of revelating and imparting. But like I had this epiphany moment that you might as well say I was revelated to, because it was crazy. I was explaining to someone forgiveness yesterday, and it's an abstract. Forgiveness is abstract. Watch my other forgiveness videos, to understand the remission of sin. It's the anti-commission. The record has been anti-committed. You never committed the sins. That's what forgiveness is. So you have to walk like you never committed those sins. And that's what he's offering, to be free, free indeed, so that you can be free from the commission that you committed those sins. Like there's no self-condemnation. There's no condemnation from God because you never committed it. That's what the remission is. It's not forgiveness. It's more. So if you were being sanctioned by the world and sanctioned by a people who said, no, you did this, blah, blah, blah. You didn't, to God. And if God says you didn't do it, then people can't say you did it. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't condemn yourself for the remission that you have been, that's been paid. It's how you've been redeemed. You redeemed a sinner, and you were redeemed as a free person, free indeed. The world can't sanction you for that. But the revelated thing I'm telling you about, it came from a conversation from talking about that. And it suddenly hit me in the middle of the conversation. So the parable of the workers in the vineyard, where a man pays workers to come out and work in his vineyard, and he pays them all a penny a day. Um, at variable times, like 1 hour, 3 hours, 6 hours, 9 hours, and 11 hours, uh, the man who runs the vineyard goes out and finds workers who are just waiting around, and he pays them. He said, come work in the vineyard and I'll pay you a fair wage at the end. Well, at the end, he takes the ones who came the latest first and pays them their penny, and then progressively goes back to the ones who came the earliest. And as they all come, they are all paid a penny. And the ones who came the earliest are angry with the ones who came the latest, because they felt that they should have been paid better. And I always thought that that was about like salvation coming later or earlier in life, and that the ones who took salvation earlier were griping about the ones who took it later. And it's kind of about that, but it's deeper. So because the paradox of time and the temporal is inserted into the parable, we make the parables are cool because they're kind of like layers of profundity under these layers of other profundity. And you think that you get it, and then like later you're like, oh no, I didn't get it at all. Like it's not that. So what I'm getting at is the time interval. The ones that came later got paid the same wage as the one who came the earliest. And it's initially I thought it was about the ones who took salvation. And if you want to say that, it's a great overarching concept to say it's about salvation. I'm telling you, there's no other way to interpret this, like with the absolutist interpretation lens that I can give you. The hour in which they came has nothing to do with the lateness in life that they took salvation. You could say that in a general way, but moreover, the hour is the depth of sin that you are committing. You know what I mean? So like, a man who, let me think of a few abstracts for you. So like a person who cheated on their spouse, so somebody who committed adultery and they divorced, that's delineated by Jesus as a sin, and the Old Testament, you know what I mean? So that being a sin, to take salvation, to take the free gift of salvation, the grace from Jesus, it's been remitted, right? So then you have somebody who's like a heroin addict, and your opinion of that sin might be different than the opinion of someone who got a divorce. And then you can take somebody whose sin is a murderer, and you could say that sin is worse than heroin, or that sin is worse than um, divorce. And you could start like creating a hierarchy of degrees of sin, right? But then you take people, like, let's take it, extrapolate it to the maximum, right? Like Benito Mussolini or Adolf Hitler or Mao Zedong, like those people would have been a highest level sin, right? So now we're talking about this depth of sin, this hierarchy of sin. Well, what's the disdain that the people in the vineyard who came at the early hour are showing for the people at the later hour is not because they came later. Like, why would you be mad if you took Jesus at 20 versus you taking Jesus at 60? Like, that's nothing to really get mad about. The ones who get mad are the ones that can't separate themselves from the depth of sin as they perceive it, right? But grace is freely given to all. There's no like, oh, all but these guys. No, it's given to all. So the time has nothing to do with it. The time is actually like kind of how the parable creates this barrier or illusion that you can't see into the true meaning of it unless your heart is open enough to understand the message that's being sent. Once you truly understand forgiveness and Jesus is truly in your heart starts to like interpret things through Jesus's heart lens. And like the things Jesus said can't be interpreted without a heart that truly can receive the message and exude it. I mean, like, receiving it's one part, but like to have the exudations of what you understand, to be able to like exude it back out, requires the heart lens to understand and reinterpolate. So I guess that's why he's showing me, like, my ministry is called Hear the Heart, because he's opened my heart and he's like showed me new stuff. So the different hours that they came later or earlier, they were in different stages of perceived sin. Like, would you say Mao Zedong is equal to someone who just got a divorce? Well, the way damnation works, if you don't have Jesus in your heart, first of all, there's no way you can live your life without being in sin, which is transgression of the rules, and transgression equals death. The wages of sin are death. So, and that's spiritual death, talking about judgment. You know what I mean? So, if the wages of your sin, of any sin, is death, then life is the free gift of salvation, right? So you're taking salvation because it's been gracefully given to you. Jesus is offering a grace, and you get that for free. So the ones who are shown disdain for the ones who received grace, like Mao, are the ones who feel like they've committed less sins and that their grace should be worth more. What you don't understand is everyone was paid a penny, a very menial amount. And a penny is used specifically because people throw grace away all the time. It's the kind of thing that, like, it doesn't seem like it's worth that much, but it's worth everything. I hope I'm explaining this correctly, because like this is pretty nuts. Like, that parable is telling you one person's sin is not judge-worthy from you because, or as it compares to your sin. It's all damnable. It's all deserves death. And the ones who receive the salvation and take grace receive life. It's that simple. Any sin is equal to death and damnation if you don't take grace, if you don't take Jesus. And anyone who takes Jesus is worthy of life. So we can't separate and create this hierarchy of sin. It's not allowed. That's what he's saying. We do not, when he says, do not judge, or judge as you'll be judged, he's talking about this kind of stuff. I mean, I know I'm kind of on the cuff just making this video. I could probably do better, but I at least wanted to get this out. I hope you guys understand. Love you. Jesus loves you too. Peace.